On December 17th, 2021, at around 6:14 a.m., inside of Kern Valley State Prison, which would first open its doors in 2005 and is home to over 3,300 minimum, medium, and high security custody inmates, staff performing a routine security check would come across inmate Abraham Morales, who was found unresponsive in his cell that he shared with 44-year-old Charles Ramirez. Ramirez would be immediately removed from the cell, and although life-saving measures were put into place, sadly, Morales would pass away at 6:55 a.m. What made this story all the more crazy was the very next day, on December 18th, 2021, inmate Ramirez would also succumb to his wounds.
And now to your 17 Crime Watch. The death of an inmate at Kern Valley State Prison is being investigated tonight as a homicide. Officials say 37-year-old Abraham Morales was found unresponsive this morning in the cell he shared with 44-year-old Charles Ramirez during a routine security check. Morales died about an hour later. The coroner's office will perform an autopsy to determine the cause of death. Morales was serving a sentence of life without parole for first-degree murder out of Ventura County. Ramirez, also serving a life sentence for murder, was sentenced to an additional 7 years in August after pleading no contest to assault with a deadly weapon by a prisoner.
Gang murders may have declined in the city of Los Angeles, but there's still a lot of violence poisoning the larger county area. CNN's Greg Lamont reports.
The 20-year-old is dead. He was pronounced this morning at 4:30, and the other victim, the survivor, was shot in the head.
Just another typical day in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department gang unit. The walls are filled with photos of dead gang members, and there's room for more.
This has been going on since the turn of the century, and the only difference is that the activities have increased to such a degree that it's catastrophic in nature.
Gang-related killings in the city of Los Angeles are down from last year. That's because many of the black gangs continue to honor a truce that was forged during the riots. Such is not the case in the county. Latino and Asian gangs are on a record pace for homicides because the gang population is growing and truce is not in their vocabulary.
People just pass by and they shoot. They shoot, and I guess shooting is fun, but it's not fun. Because, my friends of mine have been shot and they've been dead, that hurts me, So that makes me mad. I want to go up to them and, do what I got to do.
I don't think there'll ever be a truce. Not with us, anyways.
Why not?
I don't know. Just can't get along with nobody.
Got to keep going. It goes on, never going to stop. It ain't going to die, it's just going to multiply. It's the way it is. Young kids grow up and that's all they know.
There were 771 gang-related killings last year in L.A. County. Those who work with gang members say they just can't envision the killings ever coming to an end.
They don't want to change. They'd rather leave it as is. They want to have the gang warfare, with the other barrios. They don't want to forget what happened between them. They don't want to forget the homicides among them.
Why? Well, it's always been like this,
These youngsters say the shootings must be slowing down because nobody in the neighborhood was killed in the last week. Greg Lamont, CNN, Los Angeles.
To face. As Chris Blatchford shows us in this Fox Undercover report, it was all caught on tape.
It's a Sunday afternoon car show, and young people have come by the thousands to look at flashy automobiles and at each other. But when two rival gangs come into each other's sight, just looking isn't enough. They taunt each other, flashing signs and yelling gang names. One bystander remembers it this way.
It looked like they were trying to get crazy, but it almost looked like it was going to stop.
And as they inch closer together, a hothead crosses the imaginary line between them.
It's just like crazy, it's just madness all at once.
Finally, it is a young woman that comes to his aid, stepping into the middle of the chaos. Police then arrive seconds later.
Yeah, he could see tension.
40-year-old Johnny Lacone is familiar with the scene. He spent a lifetime in gangs, in and out of prison for years before he says, "I opened my eyes." This, he says, is no way for a kid to live.
You see them just messing up their life, and you have compassion for them because you know what it is to be there. But
you feel like, God, you know, they don't even know this guy. It's not even something personal.
His own 20-year-old son was murdered in gang violence not long ago. He sees this video and says no one has the right to do this.
And that's a human being. That's a human being. And you think about that, and that just hurts you.
Lacone says gangs steal feelings away from kids, manipulate them, distort values, and make them someone they are not. And it is all no good.
Gangs hurt, they kill, they destroy families.
Carlos Fierro spent his youth in gangs and jail.
I've been involved in that many times.
And what he sees here saddens him too.
Show him that there's something else out there, a better life.
A gang bullet is still lodged in his spine, his hand left partially paralyzed. And he sees the gang's hatred and violence differently now.
It's a waste, man. Wasting your time, man.
Police are still looking to identify and arrest this youth in connection with the car show stabbing. Any name and unbelievably bolted from the hospital the same day he was attacked. Lacone says it is all part of the macho gang lifestyle that in the end leaves so many of our youth with nothing but death or prison bars.
And some of them get life. 16 years old, life. One bad decision, you know, they've never lived. They're going to spend concrete and bars behind their life.
Chris Blatchford, Fox 11 News.
We're looking at California's prison initiative, a new one that prioritizes rehabilitation over punishment. Yesterday, if you recall, we got an inside look at the last days of death row at San Quentin, all part of a larger effort to reshape the state's prison system overall. And today, in part 2 of our series, we take a deeper look at what people are calling the California model, an effort to rehabilitate general population prisoners. The initiative offers inmates who demonstrate good behavior programs from therapy to sign language classes to coding. Joining us now is contributor Gianna Taboni. Gianna, we liked yesterday's report. We're looking forward to this one. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. I've been working on a book about the death penalty in America titled The Volunteer, and at a recent family event, I introduced myself to Governor Gavin Newsom. We have a family connection. He agreed to an interview, and back in April, we visited 2 state prisons to witness how he is implementing California's new approach to incarceration.
When I first came to prison, I couldn't be honest with myself about what I had done. I have caused the end of someone's life, murdered someone.
These incarcerated women are trying to get to the root of why they committed crimes to avoid reoffending in the future. Therapy groups like this one are part of the California model, a taxpayer-funded initiative being rolled out across 8 prisons statewide, prioritizing rehabilitation and education. California's Governor Gavin Newsom says his goal is to prevent people from coming back into the system.
There are people that absolutely never should be released. Absolutely. I believe that in my core. There are people that absolutely should be released, but are not prepared yet to be released because they're not fully rehabilitated.
The initiative, which offers everything from job training to dog handling, is based on a model from Norway. Leading the charge is Newsom's prisons chief, Jeff McCumber, who started his career as a guard.
Back when you were an officer, would you have been on board with something like this?
No. I didn't have the vision back then that I do now. And, you know, a lot of people say, why are you doing this? Why shouldn't you spend money for incarcerated to go to college? And I say, well, it's costing you a lot more to keep people in prison and people coming back, and I don't want to create more crime victims out there.
He thinks the approach will also keep prison guards safer, a group with a suicide rate 39% higher than other professions.
If I could reduce violent behavior by the incarcerated, staff assault rate goes down, injuries go down. When Norway started their change, it took them 10 to 20 years. So it's going to take time, but we're going to get there.
But getting there is not only going to take time, but buy-in from correctional staff.
Many of these correctional officers have also been assaulted by inmates. Is everybody on board?
Not everybody. I mean, no one's naive, but this couldn't be done without them. We said, you're going to be around that table making decisions with us.
We wanted to know what the guards think about the California model. We sat down with a few of them and their boss.
When I first heard about it, like a lot of us, it was met with skepticism.
I thought it was a great opportunity to just treat people like people, treat them like humans. What happens if we give them that respect? Do they give it back?
Probably 95% of our population is going to get out, and I feel like our job as peace officers is what are we providing to that person to not create more victims.
Here's a picture of Kyle and I playing up in the snow. This is before I married his mom. And here we are, the three of us, Kyle and his mom and myself. Those were definitely good times.
John Sperry's stepson, Kyle Myrick, was beaten to death by a co-worker when he was just 28 years old. His killer is now serving 15 years to life.
There are a lot of people who have been convicted of murder in this state who are now gaining access to rehabilitative programs. What are your thoughts on that?
I do feel like the California model is chipping away at the justice that we're supposed to receive. And perpetrators, they serve some time, and now their time in prison is going to be even easier. So how is that justice?
Do you feel that people who are convicted of murder, do they deserve a second chance?
I don't think they're going to be fixed by any amount of dog training or horse petting or any other therapies that they offer. I think they're probably just beyond that.
What is the experience of having to mourn a child?
It's absolutely horrific. Even before I knew for sure that Kyle was dead, and we were searching for him, it was so painful just to be alone with my thoughts. And it hurts everyone that he knew. It's really just brutal.
Does the pain ever go away?
No.
There are family members who have lost loved ones who say these people should exist in punitive environments.
Yeah.
Right? They shouldn't get these privileges. And what do you say to them?
Look, no one's arguing that folks should be released that have committed heinous and horrible crimes that have been sentenced or condemned. In that context, I'm deeply empathetic to the victims. And look, not all the victims are on board, but many are.
The state argues the California model is about public safety. Washington and Oregon are adopting similar initiatives, and Jeff McCumber believes other states will follow.
Do you think this will drive national policy?
Yes, I do, and I think this is where we're headed.
What do you say to folks who are maybe in other parts of the country who are looking at this and saying, what are these California liberals doing? This must be a political strategy.
We're doing this because we think it works. 90% of the folks that are incarcerated here and throughout California are going to go back out and be on the streets. Do you want those folks to have a job, maybe get treated for mental illness while they're here, maybe get the education then have the opportunity for? That if we know those individuals have a 20, 25, 30% lesser chance of coming to the prison, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I try that?
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Green Lit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. If this is your first time visiting my channel, checking out a video of mine, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoy the content. And if you do like this video, go back, check out some of the other ones, drop a like, leave a comment, engage in the conversation, and hit that subscribe button. And if you are someone who has supported this channel, tuned into previous videos of mine, then you already know what it is. I appreciate you guys so much. Without you guys, I am nothing. I continue to grow at a very good rate. This year's actually been even a better start than I imagined. If you guys are returning to my channel, then you already know my goal has for a long time been 20,000 subscribers this year. And at the current pace, we seem to be on a good pace to hit that number and blow way past it. And speaking of 2025, we're going to be sticking with the same theme that we've been following so far this year, and that is covering the CDCR issue, the problems that has plagued the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation since this new California prison model took over some years ago. We're going to be going back to December 17th, 2021, because like I've said, we're not just covering the murders that have taken place so far in 2025. We kind of started out doing that, but this California prison model was kind of first brought around late in the 2010s, 2018, 2019, got Governor Gavin Newsom and the head of the CDCR, which some people forget to mention or forget to bring up when they're talking about how this prison model has failed, Jeff McCumber. Now, if you like this content, I've made sure to shout the channels out in my last few videos. Go check out a guy by the name of Hector Bravo. He's an ex-military, he's an ex-Marine. He retired from the Marine Corps, got into becoming a correctional officer with California, ended up retiring from that because he did not like the changes that are taking place. And now you have the mess and the murders and the violence that continue to plague California's penal system, California's correction system. It's an absolute joke. That guy, Hector Bravo, he keeps a running count of the murders behind him. If you go on, check his channel out, you'll see it's like behind his right shoulder. I think he's at like 76 or 77. Another good channel that I've been watching a lot of that covers a lot of this and goes really in depth because this guy seems to know a lot of these individuals personally. There's a guy by the name of 59J. His channel's Renegade Media. These guys do a fantastic job. They have really good insight, better insight than me. I've got no problem saying that. So please, if you get a chance, go check those channels out. I personally enjoy them. That's why I tell you guys. That's why I tell my followers. I'm not going to tell you to go somewhere if it's not something that I myself don't sit down and watch on a regular basis. So, without further ado, December 17th, 2021, in Kern Valley State Prison. Officials at Kern Valley State Prison and the Kern County Sheriff's Office are investigating the December 17th death of an incarcerated person, Abraham Morales, 37 years old, as a homicide. At 6:14 a.m., Morales was found unresponsive in the cell that he shared with 44-year-old Charles Ramirez during a routine security check. An emergency medical alert was immediately issued and Ramirez was removed from the scene. Medical staff and emergency services quickly responded and attempted life-saving measures on Morales. However, Morales was taken to the institution's treatment and triage area where he was pronounced deceased at 6:55 a.m. Morales was admitted from Ventura County on June 8, 2010, and sentenced to serve life without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder with the intentional discharge of a firearm causing great bodily injury or death. He also had 2 enhancements for prior felony convictions of a serious offense. Ramirez, this is Charles Ramirez, 44 years old, was admitted from Orange County on February 12, 2014 to serve life with the possibility of parole for first-degree murder with the intentional discharge of a firearm causing great bodily injury or death. And then on August 5th, 2021, while he's locked up, he was sentenced once again in Kern County to an additional 7 years for assault with a deadly weapon or force likely to cause great bodily injury, an in-prison offense. So, it says, makes those notes at the end, how the coroner's got to determine the cause of death. We already know the cause of death. Charles Ramirez killed Abraham Morales. But what makes this story so interesting and fascinating, and I literally had to reread this article and read a second article, was Charles Ramirez, the alleged person that committed this murder on Abraham Morales, on December 18th, one day later, 2021, was also pronounced dead. And this is from the article. And I swear, guys, I had to reread this 2 or 3 times. I thought it was a typo. I thought, no way. So they both ended up dying? Yes. This is an article, December 18th, 2021. A 44-year-old state prison inmate from Fullerton serving 50 years to life for fatally gunning down a 19-year-old changing a tire has died following an apparent conflict with his cellmate who also died. This is according to state officials. Charles Thomas Ramirez was taken in for medical treatment but died from his injuries at Kern Valley State Prison, according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation's website. That is absolutely insane. Now, I was able to get really good background information on these guys' cases. I think you guys will really, really enjoy this. So, we're going to be starting with Abraham Morales and his background information. Now, remember, he came from Ventura County. He was convicted of first-degree murder with the possibility of parole. Now, this article is from May 27th, 2010. Abraham Morales was born on March 5th, 1984. A murder defendant's relative turned informant, a key prosecution witness, testified Thursday that his cousin, Abraham Abel Morales, told him he had shot the victim after asking him for the whereabouts of a man who had, quote, burned Morales' mother in a drug deal gone bad. Morales, 26, of Oxnard, California, whose nickname is Scrappy, is charged with killing William Will Wimbley. He was shot to death at a gasoline station at Woolley Road and J Street in Oxnard on July 23, 2006. Gives you an idea how long sometimes these court cases take to actually wind through the judicial system. Wimbley was sitting in a van when he was killed. The informant said Morales told him that, quote, Wimbley got smart when he asked him for the whereabouts of the drug user who had cheated Morales' mother, and so Morales fired 3 times. So it's not even the guy that actually cheated his mother, it's just the guy that he thought knew where this other guy was at. On the day of the shooting, and this is important, and we talk about drug use, and I've shared my personal story on this channel, and I don't think a lot of other content creators talk enough. They talk about dope fiends and stuff like that, but the real depths of addiction amongst the gang members, this is really what drives a lot of this violence and these issues. Yes, drug dealing is a huge for-profit for all of these gangs. Doesn't matter the race. But the gang members themselves, in prison, on the street, a lot of them, and I would bet you a high percentage of them, use narcotics or are hooked on some kind of narcotic. Now, because I'm going to read this sentence, and it just backs up what I'm saying. The informant, who was Morales' family member, said a jittery Morales told him that he shot a black man using a racial slur to describe the victim. Jittery, you're going to be high on methamphetamine. Yeah, some people can say, oh, it's nerves, you're going to be something like that. No, I guarantee you, I would bet my last dollar that drug use and I would bet methamphetamine came into play on this. He overreacted. It was quick. He said he got smart. He pulled a gun and he shot him 3 times. I guarantee you that's how it went down. Defense attorney Robert Bobby Schwartz cross-examined the informant, trying to portray him as a desperate heroin addict who would do or say anything to get his felony cases dropped or be given special favors by law enforcement and prosecutors. And there's the informant. So you've got the informant, the family member of Abraham Morales, saying, yeah, he was jittery, he came up to me, he was acting kind of just desperate, weird, told him he shot this African-American man 3 times. The defense comes up and says, you're a desperate heroin addict. They wouldn't be saying that. Now, obviously a defense team, a lawyer is going to use whatever they have to do, but there's going to be some proof, some stuff to back up that this informant does have a heroin problem. The lawyer Schwartz meticulously went through a litany of crimes that the informant had allegedly committed since 1999, pointing out charges that were dropped and outstanding arrest warrants that were squashed. When he was in jail on felony drug charges and 4 outstanding bench warrants, the informant said he went to police to tell them Morales was the killer. So he snitched. He had all these huge charges. He had all this time he was looking at, and he went and snitched. And the lawyer is going to come back and say, you can't trust him. He's a longtime drug user. He's got all these other charges. Some of these charges have been dropped probably because he snitched and informed on other individuals. He catches all these cases and he goes, hey, yeah, my cousin, my family member, yeah, he's the one that did the murder. He came to me and told me he shot this black guy the day of the murder. In an interview, prosecutor Christina Jensen said the informant was put in, quote, a witness relocation program by authorities. They believe his life and the lives of his family are in danger, quote, because of threats he's received from members of the family and people on the streets. Because remember, Morales is a Sureno gang member. The Star will not use his name because he's in the witness protection program. The Star is this article, this newspaper. Morales' cousin, who said he had been an informant since 2002, testified as family members sat in court and listened. Quote, it's difficult to be doing what you are doing in front of members of your family, Jensen asked. Quote, yes, replied the informant. So everybody in the street, all of his family members are watching this guy who, you know, like I said, it's never too late to turn around, but so far in his life hasn't amounted to much. He's a drug addict. He's a snitch. He's got no principles. He stands on absolutely nothing. The informant said he has received thousands of dollars in the state's witness protection program for relocation, rent, food, and miscellaneous expenses. He said he also gets $1,500 a month, along with $800 a month for food. I did not know that. That is absolutely insane. This is from the next article, July 1st, 2010, regarding Abraham Morales' sentence. A judge today sentenced Abraham Abel Morales to life in prison without parole for the slaying of a 56-year-old man in 2006. The 26-year-old Morales fired a weapon from inside a vehicle to, quote, kill William Will Wimbley over him getting smart about not knowing the location of a mother that ripped her off over a drug deal. He was shot on July 23rd, 2006. A jury found last month Abraham Morales guilty. Prosecutor Christina Jensen maintained that Morales believed the victim and another, quote, black man had burned his mother for, quote, an ounce of dope. Last month, a jury found Morales of an Oxnard guilty of first-degree murder with the special circumstances of firing a weapon from inside a vehicle and use of a gun. During the sentencing, Wimbley's family told the judge that they forgave Morales and would continue to pray that Morales reaches out to his family and helps to steer others to a different path. Quote, it was generous what the family did, said Jensen. Quote, it was powerful. The victim's sister, Deborah Akin, said in an interview that her brother had problems, but he was trying to straighten out his life and was staying at a church where he was getting help. It's crazy, man. It's sad. Really quick before we jump into Ramirez's background, because this really has a lot of references to drug use and drug addiction, and I haven't mentioned it in my last few videos. But if you guys have listened to my channel, followed me at all, you know about my own struggle, 10 years of heavy drug use. I lost everything I had. Without certain individuals to help pull me out of it, I would not be here. Spent time in county jails, spent time in detox facilities, rehab facilities, missed plenty of holidays, missed birthdays. It's a sad, lonely, desperate life. I have never been a gang member. I've never been a part of a gang, but I was around them. And drug addiction, drug use, it does not pick a race. It does not care if you're male or female, how old you are. It will creep into your life, and it will take everything from you and strip you down to nothing. And when I read this kind of stuff, that's what I can't help but think of, is I know individuals, I know gang members on the streets who have lost everything, not to just violence and decisions, yes, that as well, but to simply drug use, whether that be heroin, methamphetamine. Fentanyl has completely taken over. Where I live now, you can't even get heroin on the street. It is strictly fentanyl. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. Guys, it's never too late. Reach out, get the help, go to detox, go to treatment. You get one life, man. Take advantage of it. Go get the help. I celebrated 5 years of sobriety on March 10th. And the life I have today, I could not have pictured it 5 years ago. I truly couldn't have. So please, guys, get the help. Comment on here. Reach out. Talk to somebody. You might find somebody even on here in the comment section that's going through it. You can connect with them. Okay. I appreciate you guys listening to that. Let's go into Ramirez, Charles Ramirez, his background. This is from an article from Orange County Weekly on March 22nd, 2011. March 22nd at 3:52 p.m. 2 roommates have been charged with the St. Patrick's Day murder of Larry Ruiz, the 19-year-old who was shot to death while helping a friend change a tire in a Fullerton alley. This is a crazy story. Charles Thomas Ramirez, 33 at the time, and Mark Thomas Luna, 27, both of Fullerton, face 1 felony count each of murder, the Orange County District Attorney's Office announced. Ramirez also faces sentencing enhancements, that coupled with a murder conviction could get him a sentence of 51 years to life in state prison. Luna could fetch a term of 26 years to life if convicted. When Ramirez and Luna confronted Ruiz, they claimed he had been involved in a fight with Luna earlier in the day, something Ruiz denied, according to the statement below of the OCDA, which claims Ramirez punched Ruiz in the face and fired the kill shot into the young man's forehead. Now, this is a statement of facts from the St. Patrick's Day shooting. Santa Ana. 2 roommates have been charged with the murder for shooting a man in the head while the victim was changing a tire in Fullerton. Charles Ramirez, 33, Mark Thomas Luna, 27, both of Fullerton, are each charged with 1 felony count. Ramirez also faced sentencing enhancements for the personal discharge of a firearm causing death and a prior prison conviction for theft in 2008. If convicted, he faces that 51 years to life. Luna faces a sentencing enhancement for a prior prison conviction for theft back in that 07-08 time and faces a maximum sentence of 26. Luna had a prior conviction in 07 and Ramirez had the prior conviction in 08. So Luna faces the 26 years to life in state prison if convicted. Both defendants are being held in a $1 million bail and are expected to be arraigned today. They were in Department CJ1 Central Jail in Santa Ana. Now, this is how some of the story plays out. This is absolutely crazy. And Ramirez, he's just a violent gang member, is honestly how this is going to read to you guys. Luna was coming home from an AA meeting on the night in question. He gets approached by, remember this, 2 white guys who try to rob his phone. Luna flees, but in the process actually drops his phone. He gets back to the room that he shares with Ramirez, the apartment, and he says, hey, man, will you help me go look for it? Or no, he says, I'm going to actually go look for it myself. And Ramirez stands up and goes, no. He insists, I want to help you. At approximately 9:30 p.m. on March 17th, 2011, Ramirez and Luna are walking down the alley. Ramirez sees Ruiz standing there helping his buddy fix a tire on this Nissan minivan. Okay? He's helping his friend change a tire in an alley behind Ruiz's parents' home in Fullerton. The defendants are accused of confronting the victim and claiming that he had been involved in a physical fight earlier in the day with Luna over his cell phone. Ruiz obviously denies being involved in the fight. Ramirez is accused of then punching him in the face. As Ruiz began to back away in an attempt to escape, Ramirez is accused of pulling out a firearm and shooting the victim 1 time in the forehead. Luna and Ramirez are accused of fleeing the scene. So, Ruiz is dead on scene. Now, Fullerton Police Department investigate the case. They arrest Ramirez and Luna on March 18th, 2011, 1 day later. So, Luna agrees to testify. Now, this is where it gets really just shows how senseless this killing really was. Luna testifies that he told Ramirez it's these 2 or 3 white guys who robbed him and not Larry Ruiz or his friend. Ramirez, so as they're walking, Ramirez points them out. Points Ruiz and his friend out. They're changing this tire. Luna goes, hey, man, no, that wasn't them. It was 2 or 3 white guys. That's who did it. Ramirez goes, okay, I still got to handle something with them. Let me get at him. He walked up. The confrontation ensues, and Ruiz dies. Ramirez tells Luna to not say shit, but he ends up cooperating. December 5th, 2013, Ramirez is convicted of murder. He's sentenced in February 2014 to 50 years to life. As then Orange County Superior Court Judge James Stotler was sentencing Ramirez, he told the defendant, quote, you made a bad judgment call, and unfortunately, it was so bad, there have to be consequences. At his sentencing, the defendant's mother, Charlene, said in a letter to the judge that her, quote, son was a good man, he's smart, loyal, and conscious. Ramirez's brother said the killing was a horrible mistake. He's not a violent person. He has a really big heart. I try to leave my opinion out on a lot of this stuff. I don't agree with that. I really do not agree with that. Reading how that reads, where your cousin says, hey, man, that's not them. It was these 2 or 3 white guys that did it. And he says, I still got to get at him about something. Ruiz was not a gang member. Larry Ruiz was not a gang member. He's helping his buddy change a tire behind his parents' house. And he gets shot and killed on St. Patrick's Day. So, anyway, absolutely crazy. Once again, guys, if you are struggling, reach out. Get the help. It is absolutely not worth it. There's so much help out there. There's so much support. Comment. Leave something for me. I love engaging with you guys. I love having the conversation. And anyway, you already know what it is. Without you guys, I am nothing. Thank you so much. And until next time, peace.